As you can probably tell watching some of these sessions, I get to travel to loads of different places. And that's great, because I love traveling. Unfortunately, not everybody shares my enthusiasm. See, I got to do some traveling with a mate of mine called John. Now, he's got a phobia. He's terrified of flying, and he's so scared that on one occasion when we were moving around together, he actually stuck a Gatorade bottle down inside his track pants in case he lost control of his bladder as he got onto the plane. Next time you go to an airport, you might want to play this little game. I call it Phobia Bingo. Try and spot all the people that are obviously freaked out about the fact they're about to fly. Now, they may not have a Gatorade bottle stuck down inside their track pants, but they do have a few little traits that give them away. Like the way they grip their boarding pass and stare in wide-eyed, terrified fascination at all the numbers above the seat so that they can find where they're supposed to be. And then when they finally get there, they're so desperately excited that they can't find two ends of a seatbelt that clip together. And when they finally get that sorted out, they pull the seatbelt so tight that it shuts off all the circulation to the lower half of their body, and they sit on the tarmac getting pins and needles in their toes for 40 minutes. The travel industry doesn't actually help people who have phobias about flying because they call the place that you leave from the terminal. And then, at the height of your anxiety, just before you're about to get on the aircraft, over the loudspeaker system, they tell you that this is your final departure. Another dead giveaway is that they screw their eyes up really, really tight, and then they clamp the arms of the seat in a vice-like grip. Now, often at times like this, people resort to religious chants or mantras and throw up all sorts of prayers. And then as the plane gathers speed, you'll notice that these people lift themselves off the seat ever so slightly, and they breathe in to help the plane get them off the floor. Yeah, good plan. Then, when you at last reach your destination, those very same people are the first ones to spring to their feet and fling open the overhead compartment, spewing its contents all over your head as they're in a furious dash to get hold of their stuff so that they can stand up with their butt right next to your face and wait for 20 minutes while someone opens the door of the plane. And you just want to grab hold of them and scream at them and say, will you sit down? There's nowhere to go yet. Now, it's easy for me to make fun of people who've got a phobia about flying because flying really doesn't bother me, but if I am honest, I do have a phobia about spiders. Little brown, hairy things, which doesn't make any sense at all. But then, if we're honest, having phobias is part of what makes us human.
And I ain't scared of nothing. Not supposed to live with fear.
Brain damage and paralyzation are my two biggest fears. I have arachnophobia. Fear of spiders.
Spiders and drowning.
Spiders and dying.
Spiders and snakes.
Spiders and snakes, no.
I'm completely petrified of spiders.
Ew.
Rat.
I'm afraid of clowns. Clowns scare the hell out of me.
Death and old age.
Deep water or aliens?
Ghosts.
Can't have a phobia about dogs. I don't. It's funny, but I end up getting attacked a lot.
I'm really afraid of growing old and being really lonely.
Men picking me up off the street.
Getting raped.
I'm afraid of heights. I don't like sharks. I really hate sharks.
Snakes. I hate them on.
Being by myself, I hate being by myself in like big London. I hate it. I like to be with people. I hate being lonely. It's horrible.
I'm scared of falling really hard and breaking my legs.
I have a fear of rejection and failure and all that kind of thing.
I'm afraid of disappointing people around me.
I have a fear of the dark. I still have a little night light.
Of not succeeding in life, having a stable job.
I'm scared of leprechauns.
Singing in front of people.
War. People with guns at like school. Cancer. And I know I shouldn't be smoking, but I got addicted at a young age and trying to quit it. I get scared of guys at parties because they're all like drunk and they're slobs. And I don't know. Guys are creepy sometimes. No offense to any guys.
Mean people who eat squirrels and anybody bigger than me who I talk trash to.
I don't like it when guys stare at me. I hate that. It makes me very uncomfortable.
I'm afraid of you a little bit.
Why do we get so worked up about so many different phobias? Especially when most of them don't make any sense at all. Afraid of tiny little insects that can't actually do you any harm. Or afraid of mice. Cute little furry creatures that you need at least 6 of to make a decent meal. And then there's flying. Now, I suppose you could say with flying that you'd be afraid because you're up so high, and well, anything could happen. But that can't be the only reason, because it's easy to prove that flying is still the safest mode of transport in history. It's even safer to fly than it is to drive in a car. You see, every day, there are around 10,690 car accidents. And that's just in Canada, the UK and America. And that's where people are either killed or injured. Now, to equal that amount in air accidents, You'd have to crash 26 jumbo jets in every 24-hour period. So you can check out the figures for where you live. But this will blow your head in. It's actually safer to fly than it is to just walk. You see, the reason that people are afraid of flying isn't about safety at all. It's actually about control, because when you're in a plane, you feel totally out of control. Because you're being flown by somebody that you actually can't even see, and you're not sure if they're flying it or if it's being flown by a computer. Which is why when people get in a car and they put their hands on the steering wheel, they feel as if they're king of the road, because now they are in control. And basically, human beings are control freaks, and we'll fight to keep control as long as we possibly can. I can't even watch the TV in my house without having the clicker in my hand, even when it's not necessary. But I need that thing. I need to be able to push the button and see the green volume lines move up and down the screen. We're nuts about control. And that's why Christianity is such a struggle, because we're giving over control of our lives and afterlife, if it exists, to somebody we can't even see. And that's difficult because it comes with an incredible cost. So it's something that we need to give some serious thought to. Last session, we talked about the fact that God had a gift that he wanted to give you. But some of you are probably thinking, what is it really going to cost? And are there strings attached? And those are good questions. You need to hear both sides of the story. Just imagine you're in an aircraft and you're nice and relaxed and you're not scared in the slightest. And the stewardess comes up to you and she said, "Excuse me, sir, would you like one of these?" And she hands you this big, bulky parachute. And you say, "What do I want one of these for? I am really comfortable already." And she says, "Well, really, sir, it'll enhance your entire life." And you say, "Well, is it free?" And she says, "Yeah, it's totally free." And you say, "Well, there's no strings attached." And she says, "Well, of course there's strings attached, you stupid human. It's part of the design." And you say, "Well, okay, if it's not going to cost me anything." And you slip it on and you sit back in your seat, but all of a sudden the seat's not quite as comfortable as it was before because of this stupid parachute. And you think, "Well, I'll live with it." And after a while you think, "I need to go to the washroom," so you get out of your seat and you walk towards the smallest room in the universe, and on the way you're banging into people because of this parachute, and then you get into the washroom and it's even more cramped than normal because of this stupid parachute. And then when you've finished all the stuff you need to do and you come back to your seat, you move past the person next to you and you knock their coffee over because you've got this parachute on, and the coffee spills in their lap and they jump up and they knock your tray table and the coffee spills in your lap and you burn things that are not meant to be burned, and you're sitting there thinking, what on earth is going on? And you look around the cabin and you're the only person wearing a parachute except for this really nerdy looking bloke over in the corner that nobody's talking to, and they're trying to ignore him. And then you realise that people are trying to ignore you as well, and you take the straps off and the harness off and you throw the parachute on the floor and you say to the stewardess, "Why didn't you tell me it was going to be this bad wearing this thing?" But what if the flight attendant had come to you and said, "Excuse me, sir, would you like one of these?" And she offered you the same parachute and you said, "What do I want one of those for?" And she said, "Well, it's going to be uncomfortable and people may laugh at you, but if you look out that window, that wing that you can see is going to fall off in about 20 minutes, and that parachute's going to save your life." I'm sure under those circumstances, you would be prepared to put up with a little bit of discomfort and ridicule, knowing that the benefits would outweigh the costs. Because like we said before, Christianity is actually one of the hardest lifestyles there is to live, especially in the world that we live in, where Christianity is viewed as being out of date, out of touch, narrow-minded, and a totally easy target for jokes.
Why are they being knocked in the media? Why are they being knocked in film? That's a good question.
I have no idea. No clue. No clue at all.
I don't think anyone's knocking these people. I've never seen them being knocked on TV before in my life.
Oh, jeez. So let's get started fighting Satan right now. Let's get busy.
Maybe there's no devil. It's just God when he's drunk.
Because this episode has Jesus and Satan in it, well, we received a lot of complaints from religious organizations from around the country. They said we were being blasphemous and sacrilegious. To which we say, well, you're all a bunch of heads.
Wow, you said a mouthful there.
Mate, you stepped on my foot, you pig. Dude, don't say pig in front of Jesus.
You knew Christ.
No, nigga owes me $12.
Do you believe in God?
Holy all the fine and moral out front of that place, and we gotta get the one Jesus freak. It's the here.
No, wait.
Have you made your decision for Christ?
Jesus, herald Christ on a rubber crutch. Is this happening?
My fellow Americans, we will no longer be oppressed by the fascism of Christianity. Because I see you all sitting out there trying your hardest to fit in, trying your hardest to earn your way into heaven. But let me ask you, do you want to be in a place that's filled with a bunch of...
Because it's an easy thing, it's like everybody knows what you're talking about. It's like a huge, you couldn't choose a bigger target in the world. It's like, you could just take the piss out of it non-stop and everybody would know exactly what you're saying and exactly what you're talking about and what your point is.
I don't think it's the in thing to, not at all. So if you believe in God and you worship God, I think lots of people get put down for it because of their belief.
I guess because some of the things that go along with Christianity are, to some people, seem like a little bit foolish and a little bit silly. I mean, that you have to be a virgin until you're married, you know. Or
in the media, they have all this satanic stuff and all the shirts and everything. They're like, worship the devil or whatever, and they have all this just sex and swearing and cursing and stuff. It's just all putting down like on Christianity. They're just, everything is opposite against. It's all for the world and nothing's there for God. Christianity sometimes can oppose media, you know what I mean? Like, Christianity does things that we find pleasurable, like say, I'm just gonna use an example by porn. You know how like Christian people don't like porn, so they like try to cut Playboy out and all that crap? Well, I mean, if people want to look at porn, that's their own choice, and if Christian people don't want to look at it, then that's their choice.
You know, the media portrays Christians as narrow-minded, ignorant people a lot of the time, and that's what they see, and that's sort of the bias that they put forward. Or they see Christians as the radicals who shoot abortion doctors or do things like that. And so it's just like they see either the really bad parts of it and they don't really see the good. They don't really see what Christianity's supposed to be about.
You're gonna burn in hell, you baby killer.
Holy shit, it's the Pope. Huh? Hey.
I don't think it should really matter what other people think, because being Christian basically makes me happy, makes me feel like I'm living my life for a reason.
After you've had a taste of that, of what God truly is and what peace truly is, your life is never the same again and you can't go back. And I just think that the media, just those people, they haven't realized that and they haven't seen that yet. But maybe one day they will.
you know, you see how Christians are portrayed on like movies and TV shows, and then people hear you're a Christian and they're like, oh, Christians, you know, like being put with that stereotypes and just hearing jokes like that, that kind of is hard about Christianity, I'd say.
Christians, they just believe one way's the right way, and that really turns a lot of us off to it.
But what if this Christianity was going to cost you more than just being comfortable? What if it was going to cost you a friendship, or it was going to cost you a promotion, or even it was going to mean that you were going to get a kick-in? What person in their right mind would want to be a Christian then? I want to tell you a story about a kid called Enrique. He had a friend called Dan. And Dan said to him, Enrique, I want to take you away on a youth weekend in Wisconsin. And Enrique thought, oh, cool. During the weekend, Enrique heard about this bloke called Jesus and thought, hey, I'd like to follow him because he did some really good stuff. Well, Dan talked to him about it because being a Christian isn't something you do just for a weekend. He talked to him and said, Enrique, when you get back home, it's going to mean a total change in the way you live. And Enrique said, that's okay, I want to do this. At the end of the weekend, they start to drive back towards the city. As they got closer to the city, Enrique's mood started to change, so much so that Dan, in the end, said, is everything all right with you? And he said, well, I want to leave the gang. And he said, well, why do you want to leave your gang? He said, well, this man, Jesus, he does good stuff, and if I stay with the gang, I'm probably going to end up stealing and hurting people again, and I really don't want to have to do all that. So if I want to leave the gang, only two ways is to be killed or to run the gauntlet. He said, well, can't we figure out another way? And he said, well, maybe if we talk to the gang leader, there may be another way for me to leave. They went to see the gang leader, and Dan talked to him and said, is there any way that I can get Enrique out of this gauntlet deal? The leader said, no way, he knows the rules. To leave, you run the gauntlet. Be here at 9 o'clock or we will hunt you down. That night, they turned up at the park. Everybody was there. They formed two lines right down the middle and shouted at Enrique. Called him a wimp, called him a wuss. Dan jumped in the middle of it all and said, listen, can't I take his place? The gang leader said, hey, we've got this white boy over here who wants to take Enrique's place. It would be really good fun to kick the crap out of him. But they said, no, if Enrique wants to leave, Enrique runs the gauntlet. Enrique looked at Dan and said, you sure Jesus loves me, mate? Dan checked every motive in his heart and his mind. And he said, he loves you more than you can possibly know. With that, Enrique ran. He didn't get very far. They tripped him up almost straight away. As he hit the ground, they gathered round him, beating him with chains and bats and belts. He covered up his head to try and protect his face, but they were merciless. It seemed to go on forever, and Dan was screaming at him to stop. He really thought they were killing him. And then, at one word from the gang leader, there was stillness. And they walked out of the park without even looking back at him. Dan walked up to the bleeding, broken body of Enrique and picked him up. He carried him 12 blocks to the nearest emergency unit. And as he lay on the gurney, with his face gashed, with teeth missing and with bones broken, and his groin swollen to the size of a grapefruit, he looked at Dan through swollen eyes and split lips and said, Jesus must really love me a lot. And Dan says, how do you come to that decision now? He said, well, Jesus went through all that pain for me. I am prepared to pay this price for him. Now, why would somebody say something like that after they got such a kick-in? Maybe Enrique got one too many bangs on the head. Or could it possibly be that he considered it a small price to pay for what God had done for him? Now, obviously, that's an extreme case, but we've got to realize that if we decide to follow God, it's going to affect the whole of our lives. Most decisions that we have to make do cost us, though. If you want to get a high-power business career, it's generally not going to fall into your lap. You usually have to work your butt off through years of school, and then when you think you're done, you've got to go to university to get a pig-in degree. If you decide to play a sport, there's a cost too. You gotta get up at ungodly hours and drag your body to practices. But if you really want to hit the big time, you've got to work your body until it screams for mercy. But when you think about it, if something's important to us and we really want it, we're generally prepared to pay the cost.
I don't think there is anything I've had to give up for something else.
I don't know, just little things. They're not important things, so you don't really think about them. It's just like, I don't know, like not going out at the weekend so you can see your family or something. You're sacrificing something, but it's so small that you don't really think about it that much.
I used to do running, I used to do 100 metres for the athletics team, and I used to had to cut down on all my food. I can only eat healthy food. I couldn't eat any burgers or Coke, so I love Coke. I'm obsessed with it, and I couldn't drink it as much as I could. That was really bad.
School. School costs a lot of money and effort and a lot of time and a lot of stress. School.
We gave up studying so we could have a social life. We went wrong.
Oh yeah, it is worth it in the end, but after all the complaining and stuff, it's worth it.
Yeah, we gave up smoking for 5 minutes, but we started again.
Oh yeah, but I wasn't there. I don't count that. But that wasn't a sacrifice, really, was it? No, I don't think I have.
No, I've only got silly ones, but they don't count.
I guess just, it's tough being a teenager because you wanna like have fun, and there's just so many temptations, like drinking and like, I don't know, like just being young, you know, and so that's probably the hardest thing.
Christianity is a pretty hard thing to follow in the high schools and things like that in schools because it requires you to stand out and tell everyone what you believe, which isn't the cool thing to do because then you're not following what they're doing, and then they label you as like a loser.
Something that would stop me would being labeled, because if you like see people getting persecuted and stuff for being a Christian, that kind of sucks because then you don't really want to be persecuted.
If you read the Bible, and you know, most Christians do, it promises that you're going to be persecuted.
Like people see you, like if you openly say that you are, they see you differently, or they might judge you, and sometimes you might feel embarrassed that like people might just exclude you.
You're going to lose loved ones. People are going to hate you for no good reason other than the fact that you believe that Jesus Christ is real.
Hit me again, I'm a Christian.
Yeah, when I became Christian, some things got sacrificed, definitely, but then again, loads of good things happen as well. So.
It's definitely been worth it, and I think the biggest thing I had to give up was friendship.
Yeah, I don't like having somebody else or something else or anything like that. Sort of that feeling of I don't run my own life.
I don't think I can handle another thing controlling what I do or like overseeing what I do. I think that's just too much control for me.
The Bible doesn't say that Christianity is going to be easy. In fact, it says the exact opposite. Jesus said that people might even hate you because of him. And sadly, history proved him right. In the early years, Christians were thrown to lions, they were sawn in half, they were boiled alive in oil, and they were lit as human torches to illuminate parties here in the Roman Colosseum. Basically, they were butchered for their beliefs. And even today, as you've been watching this film, people have been imprisoned, tortured and killed and had their houses burned just because they claim to be Christians. So if you think that following Jesus is going to be your ticket to popularity, then you might want to think again. Some people would say that it's mindless, cultish, and even dangerous to give God control of your life. Now, I'm not saying that we haven't deserved some of the bad press we've got in the past, because some folks have done some really stupid things in the name of Christianity, trying to get other people to join the Jesus bandwagon.
God's gonna throw you into hell for even being around here. You're going to hell, just being here.
Even in the Bible, Jesus didn't want people rushing up to him to sign up to be one of his followers and doing it blindly. He always sent them away to consider the cost first. Because nobody respects people who start things that they can't finish. And this is a tough one for us as human beings because we're impulsive and we tend to jump into things with 2 feet only to have second thoughts later. And that's why this is not an easy decision. God wants all of you, not just a part. He wants to be boss of your entire life. Now, that type of commitment only comes as you learn to trust him more. But the Bible does say that when you give God control of your life, even if you experience turbulence, you're still going to be better off.
We started this session off by talking about the irrational fear of flying and the fact that even though it's the safest mode of travel, we often don't feel that way because we're just not in control, which is why very often we can feel safer in a car even though we're not. Now, it's exactly the same in spiritual things because the core of Christianity is who's in control of your life, you or God? Now, don't believe all this stuff where people tell you that being a Christian is a smooth ride, because it wasn't for the people in the Bible, it wasn't for Enrique, and it hasn't been for me. Because most of my Christian life has been a battle over control. I keep wrestling God for the clicker. And every time I get it, all I do is just screw things up. And I have to learn some really hard lessons, but I'm finding out that God actually knows more about me than I know about myself. So I'm doing things now that I've never thought of doing before. So following Jesus is actually the best choice that I've ever made. But that is my choice. The decision you have to make is a very personal one, and you've got to ask yourself, is it worth it?